Please sit in a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put your attention on the silence that is always there deep in the mind. Connect with that silence. Become the silence. You are the silent witness. Now, from the perspective of the silent witness, listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishta. Book 4, Chapter 16, continuing with verse 6. Farewell. We shall now depart to our desired dwellings. Know for certain that there is nothing desirable to the mind that it cannot accomplish. Vasishta speaking. Saying so, the god vanished from before the weeping father and son. Moving in the burning sky, like the dispenser of light, the sun. After the god had gone and gained his destined state among the gods, the two Bhrigus remained to contemplate on the inexplicable and unalterable course of destiny. Shukra entered his withered corpse, as spring enters into a faded plant, in order to adorn it again with its spring bloom and its springing blossoms. His Brahman body immediately fell down on the ground, staggering as when a tree falls down with an uprooted trunk, and immediately became disfigured in his face and limbs. The old sage Bhrigu, seeing the dead body of his son come back to life, sanctified it with propitiatory mantras and sprinkling of water from his sacred water pot. The veins and arteries and all the cells and cavities of the dead body were again just supplied with their circulating blood, just like dry river beds are filled with floods in rainy weather. The body filled with blood made the limbs bloom, like the growth of lotuses in raining lakes and the bursting of new shoots in buds in spring plants. Shukra then rose up from the ground, breaking the breath of life like a cloud ascending to the sky by force of winds. He bowed to his father, standing in its holy figure before him, like a rising cloud, clings and kisses the foot of the lofty mountain. Then the father embraced the revived body of his son and shed a flood of affectionate tears upon him. Like a high risen cloud washes a mountain top with showers. Brigu looked with affection on the newly risen old body of his son and smiled to see the resuscitation of the body he had begun. He was pleased to know him as the son born of himself had to find his features impressed on him. Thus, son and father graced each other by their company as the sun in Lotus Lake rejoices to see one another after the shade of night. They rejoiced at the reunion. Like a loving pair of swans at the end of the night of separation. And like a joyous couple of peacocks at the approach of rainy clouds. The worthy father and son sat a while to pause after their works and troubles were at an end. Then they rose up to discharge the duties that were at hand. They set fire to the body of the Samanga River Brahmin and reduced it to ashes. For who is there among earthborn mortals who should ignore the customary usages of his country? Afterwards, the two devotees, Brigu and Shukra, continued to dwell in that forest, like the two luminaries of the sky, the sun and moon. They both continued as living, liberated guides of men by their knowledge of all that was to be known, and by preserving the equanimity of their minds and the steadiness of their dispositions amidst all the changes of time and place. In course of time, Shukra became the teacher of the demons, and Brigu remained in his patriarchal rank and authority among the sons of men. Thus, the son of Brigu, who was first born as Shukra, was gradually led away from his holy state by his thought of the heavenly nymph and subjected to various states of life to which he was prone. Chapter 17. The difference between Shukra's daydreams and ordinary daydreams. Rama said, "Tell me, sage, why do others' daydreams not have the same result as that of Brigu's son?" Vasishta replied, the reason that Shukra's body at first issued from the will of Brahma. He was born of the pure family of Bhrigu without being corrupted by any other birth. The purity of mind which follows upon decreasing desires is called its coolness. And the same is known as the stainless state of mind of the soul. Whatever the man of a pure and contrite spirit thinks in his mind, the same comes to take place immediately. Like the turning of seawater turns into an eddy. As the errors of various wanderings occurred into the mind of Shukra, so it is with everybody. As Bhrigu's son is an example. As the serum contained in the seed develops itself into shoots and leaves, so the mind evolves in all the forms that are contained therein. Whatever forms of things are seen to exist in this world, they are all false appearances, as are their disappearances also. Nothing appears or disappears to anyone in this world. Only error and fantasies in the air that show themselves to those bewitched by this magic scene of the world. Our notions of this part of the world present their forms to our view, and the appearance of thousands of such worlds in the mind is mere idea, as false as the show of a magic lantern. As the sights in our dream and the images in our imagination are never apart from our minds. And as they cannot show themselves to be seen by others, such is our false conception of the world. So all places and things are only imaginary ideas. They show themselves as real objects only to the blind side of the ignorant. Ghosts, demons, and devils are also only imaginary figures of the mind. Born in the shallow brain of men to terrify themselves with their hideous shapes. Thus have we all become like the dreaming son of Bhrigu. Understanding the false creation of our imagination as sober realities. So the creation of the world and all created things are pictured in the mind of Brahma and make their repeated appearances before him as the phantoms of a fantastic mental fabrication. All things that appear to us as false, as these phantoms. They proceed from the mind of Brahma, just like the varieties of trees and shrubs are produced from the same sap of spring season. Considered from a philosophical viewpoint, it will be found that the will or desire of each person produces the objects of its desire. Everybody sees everything in the world according to the nature of the thoughts in his mind. Then he dies with his wrong view of it. In its idea, anything appears to exist, which in reality is non-existent, though it is apparent to sight. The existence of the world is like a lengthened dream. The visible world is a widespread snare of the mind, like chains at the feet of an elephant. The reality of the world depends upon the reality of the mind, which causes the world to appear as real. The loss of the one destroys them both, because neither can exist without the other. This is quite a significant statement. The reality of the world depends on the reality of the mind, which causes the world to appear as real. The mind is formed from the vibrations of individual karmic traces. So it is the vibrations of individual karmic traces that causes the world to appear as real. This is why it is challenging for us. Because we have individual karmic traces, yet we know the world is a phantom. It is a dream. It is not real. Yet it appears as real. There's nothing we can do about it except we must destroy the mind. Once the mind is gone, then the true nature of the world is obvious. As long as the mind is there, the world must appear as real. Extremely important and fundamental point. So if the world appears real to you, It's because you still have the mind. So it's like the gas gauge on your car. It tells you where you are in your progress to achieving moksha. The pure mind has the true notions of things. And reflects the true image of everything. As the gem. Polished from its impurities, receives the perfect reflection of everything. The mind is purified by its habit of fixed attention to one particular object. This is obviously a statement about the efficacy of dharana. Once we can perform dharana, fixing our attention on the mantra, individual karmic traces begin to be balanced, and eventually the mind is purified. When the mind is purified, it ceases to exist. It is the mind undisturbed by desires. Desires are the fluctuations that arise from karmic traces. Desires are like smoke that cloud the reality. When the desires have melted away because the karmic traces have been balanced, then one sees the reality, the true light and reflection of things. As the gilding of gold or any brilliant color cannot stand on base metal or on a piece of dirty cloth, so it is impossible for the weakened mind to apply itself intensely to any one particular object. Now established in the silent witness, let us begin Trimana Sanyama on the esoteric Maha Mantra. And rapidly balance all individual karmic traces that have been enlivened by this reading of the Yoga Vasishta. Jai Gurudev.